What's up, guys? Licious Kid from Climax Combo here, back with another Love Live Nijigasaki deck profile. This time I'll be featuring the new 8 Pants deck that was only possible with the new anime booster. This deck is yellow-blue, and I think this deck is really strong and possibly the best deck for Nijigasaki now. But like always, guys, we're just going to go over all the cards, a couple key points of the deck, and alternatives and some final thoughts. So first up, we got 4 of these Kasumines from the first booster. 0/0, 1k power, 3 effects. When she's reversed in battle, and you have 2 or less cards in memory, you can send her to memory. Second effect, if she's in memory, all these Kasumines, this specific 0/0 in your hand, can resonate with any of their Kasumine, because that's kind of like a theme in all the Kasumine cards to resonate. So she can resonate with all of them, which only has synergy with one other card in this list. And lastly, if she's on stage, you can discard a card, send her from stage to waiting room. If you do, salvage a card. She's mainly here for that last effect to salvage something, because it's really good. But besides that, the extra resonate and the extra decompress comes in handy every once in a while. Or the extra compress comes in handy once in a while. Next up, 3 of these 0/0 2k Kasumines from the first booster. I would run 4 if I owned another one, but the last one's in my standby deck, so just running 3. 2k power. When it's played from hand to stage, you can pay 1, choose a music character in your waiting room, put it to your bottom clock. If you do, grab a 1 or lower character in your deck, add it to hand, and shuffle. Pretty standard effect, but really strong effect. If your set has it, you pretty much run it. Next up, 0/0I from the new booster, 2/5 power. It's a Climax swap, pay 1, discard a Climax, and then if you do, salvage Climax. So just here for that. Next up, 1 of these 0/0I moves, 1500 power. Pay 1, rest, mill 4. Every Climax you hit, salvage a character, so salvage Brainstorm. Second effect, whenever you play a Climax, but look at the top 2 cards of your deck, rearrange them in any order, and then put them back. So just a great Brainstorm, honestly. It adds a lot of consistency in your attack patterns, and salvage Brainstorm. What's not to love? 2 of these 0/0 Shizukus, 1k. It's pretty much just a reprint of the 0/0 first year promo from the first set. 2 effects. Once played from hand to stage, choose 1 cost. If your opponent, once played from hand to stage, if your opponent has if it has 1 or less characters in their front row, you can choose a cost 0 character amongst them and put it to their bot deck. And our second effect, at the beginning of your opponent's draw phase, you can reveal the top card of your deck. If it's a 1 or higher, you can go back to your hand. Just a really good card if you go second. Stop those really overpowered cards that can run mostly. And if she goes back to your hand, it's a free +1. So it's an okay card. Just 2 of those. Next up, 2 of these Shizukus from the first booster. Still a really solid card. Once placed from hand to stage, reveal top card. If it's a music, she gets +2k, so she's 3/5. Second effect, when she's sent from stage to waiting room, you can discard a card. If you do, look at top 4 cards of your deck. Choose a level 1 or higher card. Doesn't have to be a music character. Amongst them, add it to your hands. The rest to waiting room. I mean, just really good card. Free top check. Free potential 3/5 power. And a good way to mill. And you can grab a 1 or higher anything, including events. Just a really solid card. Next up, 2 of these 0/0 Emmas from the new booster. 1500 power. 2 effects. It's a 500 global for music characters. Second effect, when you trigger a Pants Climax, you can pay cost, which is discard a card. If you do, choose a card in your clock, add it to your hand, then you clock yourself 1 damage. Kind of doo-doo that it works in your clock. And then you have to clock yourself again. So, you know, it can feel bad if you hit a Climax. But nonetheless, still a pretty solid effect. And it's 500 global, so it's alright. Next up, 2 of these Emmas. 0/0 500 power. 2 effects. It's a level 0 bot deck Suicider. Her other effect, once played from hand to stage, look at the top 3 cards, or reveal the top 3 cards of your deck. If there's an event amongst them, you can add it to your hand. If you do, discard a card, and then send the rest to waiting room. Really solid card, because this deck does run a few events. So this card has great synergy for that, and it's still a great on-play mill 3, and it's a bot deck Suicider, so just a really solid card. I should probably add more of these. And next up, just one of these Kanatas, because I think it's a really cool card. She's kind of weird, but she has 3 effects. First effect, you can put her from stand to rest. If she doesn't have a marker underneath her, you can get a music character in your waiting room, or specifically this 1/0 event in your waiting room, and put it underneath her as a marker. Her other effect is you can pay 1, put her from stand to rest. If you do, get a marker underneath her added to your hand. And her last effect is at the beginning of your attack phase, you can pay 2, discard 2 music characters, get one of the pillow events underneath her as a marker, and send it to waiting room. So the pillow event has to specifically be her marker, and you send it to waiting room. If you do, choose one of your characters that are in rest and put it back in stand. Really weird effect, and only has synergy with the level 3 Kanatas that we'll go over later. Just mainly here for the first, or for the other effects of getting markers and then putting markers back in your hand. But that last effect is pretty cool, and we'll go over that later. And that's it for level 0s. I think it's what, 18, 4, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 18. Next up, we got 4 of these 1/0 Emmas from the new booster. Really good card. 103k power, 2 effects. When she attacks, if you have an event in waiting room, she gets plus 3k until the end of your opponent's next turn. So she's 106k base essentially. And climax combo with her pants. When she attacks, if you have the climax out, you can look at the top 4 cards of your deck, choose a music character or event amongst them, add it to your hand, and send the rest to waiting room. So her second effect just really makes her first effect more consistent, because you can attack, choose her second effect first, look at top 4, grab a character, send the rest to waiting room. Oh, there's an event amongst them. Boom, 6k till the end of your opponent's turn. So she'll almost always be 6k from her own effect, because it's a really easy condition to fulfill. So really strong card. Next up, just one of these 1/0 Kanatas. She is 4/5. Her effect is when she's played from hand to stage, you can pay 1, discard a card. If you do, salvage a music character. It's alright, just kind of a tech card. I might consider taking this one out, but just trying it out. Next up, another card I'm trying out, which is actually pretty good. 1035 power. Her effect is she gets 500 for every other music character, so she can be like a 5/5 base. And then when she fights a level 2 or higher, she gets plus 6k power. So she's like 11/5 with a full field. And if she's fighting a level 2, which is really good against standby decks. Just this one card. Your costless 1/0 can answer their 2/2s, their 1/1s, or sorry, their 2/2s. So just here for that. Next up, 3 of these Kasumines. 1145 power. She is a level assist in front, and she has a resonate. Pay 1, rest yourself, resonate. Pay 1, rest yourself, and then you resonate with herself. If you do, look at the top 3 cards of your deck. Choose a music character amongst them, add it to your hand, send the rest to waiting room. Still a really solid card, and it's a level assist as well. So it's pretty good. Just another good card, good way to gain advantage. And lastly, this event. You can, when you play this event, you put the top 2 cards of your deck to your waiting room, and you salvage a character in your waiting room equal to the sum of the 2 cards level to your hand. Pretty standard event, but it just has really good, pretty standard event, nothing special, but doesn't mean it's bad, and it has good certain, and you have ways to get it back with the 0/0 Kanata that we went over before. So 4 of these. And that's it for level 1, 4, 5, 6, 9, 10, 13. Next up for level 2s, haha, we don't got any level 2s. So we're just going straight to level 3s because they come out level 2. 3/2 Emma from the first booster. If you have 2 or less climaxes in your waiting room, she loses 1 level in your hand, so she comes out level 2. During your turn, she gets plus 500 for every other music character, so she can be 12k base. And lastly, when she reverses an opponent's character by battle, You can look at the top 4 cards of your deck, choose 2 music characters amongst them, add it to your hand, send the rest to waiting room. Pretty solid card, comes out early, big body, just on attack. And she pluses you 2 when you kill something, and she can mill through your deck a whole bunch, which is really cool. So 2 of these, because having a lot of hand size is always nice, and it kind of works out well with the level 3 Kanata that we'll go over later, because she does require some hand. Next up, 2 of these 3/2 Shizukus from the new booster. Also comes out early. If you have 2 or less climaxes in your waiting room, she loses 1 level, so there's that. When she's played from hand to stage or by merge, which is not relevant in this deck, she heals. And lastly, when she's played from hand to stage, you choose one of your music characters and gets plus 3k until the end of your opponent's next turn. So gives anything big body on play, and she heals, and she comes out early. Really solid card. Next up, this funny 3/2 Kanata from the first booster. When she's played from hand to stage, you heal. Second effect, at the beginning of your climax phase, you can discard a music character, put her from stand to rest, then choose the following 2 effects and do them, and you can choose them in any order. Either your opponent burns 3 or your opponent burns 1. So pretty funny card from the first booster. Not really being played, but you know, there's a Kanata deck, and I think this card is really cool. So I want to tech 1. I mean, it heals, and the burn is non-climax combo reliant, and it's pretty versatile. You can do the 1, then the 3, or the 3, then the 1, of course. So I think it's a really cool card. Just one of these. But the big, scary new boss monster that makes this build so good is the 3/2 10k Kanata. Combos with her own pants, of course. When she's played from hand to stage, you can look at the top X cards of your deck, choose a card amongst them, add it to your hands in the rest of the waiting room, and X is the amount of music characters that are on the stage. Second effect, when you play her pants, you can pay cost, which is discard any 2 cards and put her from stand to rest. If you do, your opponent mills the bottom 7 cards of their deck, and for every climax you hit, they take 3 damage. So this card is kind of crazy because it's super consistent, because on play she can grab anything. If you put the first one, will grab 3, the second one will look at top 4, and the last one will check top 5. So you're bound to get one of her pantses along the journey. If you don't have one of her pantses in the top 3, 7, 9 cards at the top of your library, feels really bad, but you're most likely gonna get one if you're not, you know, it's what it is. So it's giga consistent. Her cost is very light. Just discarding 2 cards in your hand and putting her from stand to rest is really easy, because she also gains you a card when she's played from hand to stage. So it's like you're only kind of discarding 1 card since she discards a card. You don't get any extra stock for that turn, but honestly, this is probably like the final attack when you do slap down 3 Kanatas. If they survive, it's kind of crazy. And yeah, and then her effect, I mean, milling bottom 7, and then they take 3 for every climax. It's just pretty insane. I think 1 by itself is not that scary, but when you start slapping multiple of these, that's when it gets really scary, because if your opponent doesn't have much climaxes at the time, you're probably going to make them refresh doing it 3 times. So that's 21 cards. Force them to take refresh damage, and then from there, when they refresh with a fresh deck, then it's like random, and you can just steal games with multiple of these Kanatas at any given moment. There's really no outplaying this, because your opponent can't back up against it, because it's an effect. You just put it from stand to rest, and they just roll the dice, and hopefully you're lucky or they're unlucky, or vice versa. So really strong card. Yeah, just really good. Lots of fun for me, not for them. And lastly, just to add more funsies and lolsies to the deck, 2 of these 3/4 Shizuku events. When you play this event, it's a whole lot of stock, but anyways, when you play this event, your opponent reveals the top 6 cards of their deck and then shuffles them back into their library. For every climax you hit, they take that much damage, and this damage can't be cancelled. So not really mandatory in this deck, but I think it's pretty funny. Just adds more to the whole random burn aspect of Kanata. And the Shizuku. Oh, sorry. When you use this Shizuku event, it goes to your bottom deck. Kind of irrelevant, but and I don't know why it has that downside, but it does. But yeah, just a tech event. You don't really have to run it, but I think it's funny. And that's it for level 3s. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 level 3s. Of course, 8 pants, 4 of each. So the deck's pretty straightforward, honestly. Nothing really special until level 3. You just kind of hang tight with level 0s, kill them with cards, set up your back row. Usually might be something like this. And this. Or you have a lot of back row options. You have these 3. Usually I use the Kasumi and the 0/0 Kanata, but all of these are good options. You don't even need the 1/1 Kanata or Kasumi, honestly. You could do something like this too. So there's a lot of back row options. Set it up to however you want and depending on the game state. Level 0, nothing special. Just kind of hang tight. Level 1, spam the 1-0 Emma combo until your brain explodes. It's never a bad time to use these combos. And this combo is just really good. And you constantly keep grabbing back these Emmas with the 1-0 Pants event. And it's super easy to grab the Pants event because of the 0/0 Kasumi. I'm sorry, the 0/0 Kanata. So really easy to grab it, of course. So there's that. Level 2, just play your early drop level 2s. Emma if you're running low on juice in hand, and Shizuku if you want to heal and outlast your opponent and get some big power along the way. Something like this. Really strong field, just high power. And then lastly, of course, at level 3, you slam down the triple Kanatas. Really the whole reason to play the deck. Lots of way to grab it, of course. You got the 1-0 Emma, you got the 1-0 event. You can even use the 0/0 Kanata, slap it underneath her when you're like 2-4, 2-5, because you're gonna hit level 3 next turn, and then boom, you got 1 guaranteed. Yeah, just a whole lot of ways to grab the Kanatas. Of course, another reason why we're grabbing the 0/0 Kasumi. So more ways to grab the Kanata, because once you have 3 of these Kanatas, it's just Dunzo beans math. Yeah, and then you use the event. Like I said, just really strong and nothing really your opponent can do about it. If they have no deck, they're gonna refresh, and if they're super compressed, then they're gonna kill themselves. So there's not much ways to play around this Kanata, and they can't really use any events or backups to stop it. So they're just gonna watch them get burned. And of course, this Kanata does have synergy with these. After you use all 3 at the beginning of your attack phase, you can pay 2 characters, pay 2, discard 2 music, and send this to waiting room. And then she wakes up herself, and then boom, you get an extra attack. Super cool, but it costs a whole lot of stock and hand size, which your hand's gonna be pretty low after using 3 of these. But nonetheless, the option is there for you. I think it's funny and it's cool, so that's why I run it, but not really mandatory. Of course, you can use this Kanata too with the last old 3/2 Kanata. If you don't have the climax, or if you don't want to use the climax for whatever reason, these 2 can still work together, because you can do the 3 and the 1, wake her up, and attack. And this cost is really light. All you have to do is discard a card, discard a music character, and then you go wake her up again, and then do the 3 and the 1. So these 2 have good synergy, but if you're gonna go for the big Kanata turn, you can't really use it all together. So there's that. Honestly, this deck, I think, is all about the level 3 Kanata. It's just so good. And the 1-0 Emma is honestly really good too. On to alternatives. I don't think there's too much you can do specifically with this 8 pants deck. Honestly, I would probably change some ratios. A lot of these cards I'm just kind of running because I think they're cool, or I'm just short on cards because they're in my other builds, or just kind of trying them out. Like this one, like the 0/0 Kanata, or this 1-0 Kanata. Probably just change it for another 1-0 Emma. Looking at it again, if I had more Aimu brainstorms, I'd probably be running them over the 1-1 Kasumi, because the 1-1 Kasumi doesn't, sometimes you whiff because you're running a lot of events in this build, but it's still a good card, but just something to consider as well. The The 3-4 event, you don't really have to run it, but it's cool. And the 3-2 Kanata, definitely these are more just something I think are fun. If you probably, if you can, maybe take out these 3-2 Emmas and maybe just run it for 4 of these Shizukus instead, because they both accomplish the same thing: big body, get stuff on play. But the Emma, gets you more hand size while this heals you more. In hindsight, I think the heal is probably better, so I would probably change these 3-2 Emmas to 3-2 Shizukus if I ever have the chance of getting more of them. But yeah, that's probably what I changed. But adding new cards, I'm not too sure. I don't think there's any really key cards I'm missing. So yeah. Alright guys, so here's one last look at the deck. Overall, like I said in the beginning of the video, I do think this 8 pants build is really strong. I do think it's possibly the strongest Love Light Jikisaki build out now. I do think it is stronger than the 8 standby deck. Just a lot more consistent. Like the whole 1-0 Emma combo is so good, with the 3-2 Kanata combo is also so good. The rest of the deck is really solid. I do think the list can be a little more tweaked to be like super competitive, but nonetheless, this is just kind of like a skeleton. Just change it to however you want and whatever cards you have available. But I do think the 8 pants is really strong and really consistent, and I'm having a lot of fun with this deck. But that's my thoughts on this deck, guys. Look forward to more duels with this deck, because I do think it's really good. And we'll catch you guys real soon. Peace.